A Letter to Myself with Joel Chua.
Hi there, and thanks so much for your company. Our guests today are partners in every sense of the word. They've been married since 2003. They've got 4 children together, and they've been in business together since 2015. Their products aim to make things a little bit easier for breastfeeding mothers and their infants. Well, they've been through their share of ups and downs together in business and at home, including a particular life-threatening and life-changing experience. The co-founders of Hegen mother and infant care brand, Leon and Yvon Bock. A very warm welcome to the program. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, Joel.
Leon?
Hi, Joel. How are you?
Okay, good. So you guys have been married for quite a while now. 20 years now. Almost 20, more than 20
More than
years
20
now.
years.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
You were married for 12 years already at the point in time when you guys decided to start a business together in 2015.
That's right.
What were the events, the thoughts that led you to make that decision?
Yeah, every story has to have a backstory. So I bring you back in the history. So around 2010, when I had Kimberly, my youngest child, fourth child, they almost lost me at birth.
Right.
And when I remember when I woke up, when I gained consciousness, I was really mad at the world. I was so angry. I was wondering, why me? And then the moment where I saw a reflection of my little baby in the cradle, and I realized, oh, I'm alive.
Right.
I'm actually a mom for the 4th time. I have this little one, a new life beside me. Why am I angry and not like appreciative and thankful for all this? And that's the part that, I really broke down, and I started thinking like, how can I pay it forward for this second chance in life?
Thank you so much for sharing that life-changing experience.
Yes.
May I ask, when you say they almost lost you,
Yeah.
what were the circumstances around that?
Right. So I have 4 cesareans, and it's very strange because universe always tell you like, if you focus on something, that's where all your energy flows to. And I remember they made me sign a disclaimer, a waiver, before they pushed me into the surgery room, that 4th cesarean has high risk of getting a ruptured bladder.
Yes.
I'm like, what is ruptured bladder? Right? Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that point of time, we didn't expect there to be too many complications. It's the 4th time, as Yvonne said. So when she had a ruptured bladder, I lost a lot of blood, and that's the time where we really thought that there was a chance that she wasn't going to make it.
And when they wheeled me in, right, we thought, okay, I'll see you in 45 minutes because it's a scheduled cesarean.
Right, and you had been through 3 more before that,
Exactly.
right? Yes.
And so it was very unexpected.
Right.
And I think that also, probably because I didn't have control over, like when I woke up, and that was a terrible feeling. And because so much loss of blood, and the uterus, they have to really like either to remove my uterus totally, do whatever they can. And thankfully, the doctor said this is his 2nd case out of his 40 years of the OBGYN experience. I'm like, thank goodness I'm your 2nd case, not your 1st. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. You said also that when you woke up, you were angry. The initial emotion was anger. What were you angry about?
I think I was just so traumatized by that. Why were there like so many people looking at me? My parents, Leon, my in-law, my late grandmother, they were all looking at me like, are you okay? Are you okay? I'm like, come on, it's just a normal childbirth. Why is it so, there's so much anxiety. And of course, when I saw there was a blood bag, there was an IV drip, and I saw all this thing hanging on, and I knew something was wrong.
Okay, so that was before you knew that you had almost lost your life.
Yes.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And then she subsequently chased everybody out of the room. She didn't want any visitors. She was just angry.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to recover from that anger?
Couple of hours. So, after cesarean, they always encourage, okay, 24 hours later, it's encouraged to leave the bed, go for like a little bit of wash up so that you can have blood circulation. This time around, I have 3 things hang on to me, right? I had an IV bag, I had blood bag, and I also had a catheter.
Okay.
Right? And I pressed the red button. I say, please bring me to the toilet. They say, ma'am, this time is different. It's an emergency. This time is different. 3 nurses had to help me to the washroom. So that part, I was really I'm really thankful. Like thinking back, I really don't know what made me feel that way, but I feel that emotionally, it was the trauma.
Right.
And also when they have to like really save my life, something must have triggered, like physiologically.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was a life-changing experience for you.
Absolutely.
And like you shared with us earlier, you
Totally.
decided that I want to do something worthwhile and meaningful with this second chance at life. Hence, the company.
Yes.
That was the day we felt that the idea of Hegen was seeded. That's when she decided, I want to do something, I want to pay it forward, I want to make a difference.
What was going through your mind, Leon, when Yvonne shared with you this ambition, this aspiration?
Well, I mean, first of all, I almost lost my wife.
Yeah.
So at that point of time, if she told me she wanted to climb Mount Everest, I would say, yes, let's do it, right? But no, I mean, jokes aside, I think when she said she wanted to pay it forward, I definitely wanted to do this with her. And it wasn't until, maybe about a year later where she started talking about all these great ideas. At that point in time, it was just a thought, right? The thought of wanting to do something with this second chance that she was given.
Okay. What were you guys doing before you became business partners?
Yeah, maybe Leon can go first.
Yeah, I was running a family business. I had a relocation logistics company. We had 14 offices around Asia. I was very happily managing that. I was managing it for about 20 years. And right up to the point when she decided, that she wanted to start Hegen, and I wanted to be in this with her. That was when I think the idea seeded into me that I needed to leave my family business, sell it away, and before I can move over and join her permanently.
Was it a very challenging decision to make?
It was. I had to retire my parents. That's never easy, and it's a business that they've had for 40 years, so it was 40 over years, and therefore it was not easy. I had to say goodbye to all my business partners. I had to walk away from an industry that literally I started working in since I graduated. So, it was a very, very tough decision. But when you consider that to the vision that Yvonne had about wanting to make a difference, at that point of time, she already knew what she wanted to do, how she wanted to do it, and more importantly, the fact that she wanted to help 100 million mothers around the world. That was very, very convincing.
I was going to say,
Yes.
that sounds like it was a very persuasive circumstance to be in.
There are times in life where you are part of something bigger and greater than yourself. That was one of those times.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that, Leon. Yvonne, what were you doing at that point in time?
Right. So at that point, I was already with the family business.
Your own family business?
My own family business for 10 years. And that event actually made me think about what's the real future for my family business. And, idea is it's not easy. It's not like, you have it and it comes out immediately. So I was breastfeeding my daughter in a hospital bed. Every day I'm like, I want to pay for it, but how should I do it? Like, what should I do? Like if, in terms of time, I barely can, get some sleep. And, financially, I don't even know how much disposable or savings I can actually get with four kids in tow, right? So I realized the Nirvana moment was like, hey, I'm actually pretty good at this, breastfeeding. And that's like one of the most fulfilling things for me, the most fulfilling duties and responsibilities I have for my children. And I was a project manager. I travel around the world, just meet my customers, and I'm frequently away from home, away from my children. When I brought my milk back and feed my children with my breast milk, that was the best consolation I get, the most rewarding, and it kind of reduce the mom guilt, like, okay, I'm away from you, but now I feel connected with my child.
Right. And you've got this
Yeah.
glow on your face as you describe this,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It comes across.
Breastfeeding is the most
It's a passion.
amazing attachment bonding with your children. And words can't describe it. I mean, I'm lost for words. Yeah.
Well,
And-
you described it pretty well. You described it pretty
Thank
well.
you.
And we'll find out more about your product, the brand, as well as your business plans as well in just a little while. But, we hear that the conventional advice, you have to draw healthy boundaries between work life and family life. That's how people think that's how a healthy relationship should go about. But you guys obviously are quite different, right? Those boundaries don't exist, or do they? Did you have those thoughts before deciding to become business partners as well?
I think we worked very hard to make that happen.
Yeah.
And again, almost lost my wife. I always will treasure that. I would never forget that. And so a lot of people ask, Leon, how do you guys work together, stay together 24/7? So I tell them it's not about how much time we spend together. It's about how much we can't take being apart.
Oh.
Yeah, and so that really describes the two of us.
Yvonne, agree?
Absolutely. So even 20 years married, we are like very playful and we having a very fun relationship. We still keep up with each other like boyfriend, girlfriend. That's how to keep the relationship alive.
How do you keep that spark alive? I mean, is it natural? Does it come naturally?
Now, relationship is really a work in progress.
Yeah.
We have to be very intentional at work. What are the roles we play? What are the portfolios that we are in charge of? Who makes the final decision? So we made it very clear from the onset. And if things don't go well, who makes the final decision? And what is our priority? Family. Our relationship is number one. Our family is number two. And also the entire company. Business can restart. You can't do that with your husband and wife relationship. So that's where we set all these rules and values from the very beginning. And so far, it's been great. So at home, I'm the faithful wife. I'm, that girlfriend that will always like be. I'm always trying to be the cheeky one at home. And then Leon at work.
At work, she's my boss. So, we have different roles. But I always say that in a relationship, especially the relationships that I see that last, it's about each other bringing out the best in one another, right? When you bring out the best in one another, and the best version of yourself, then that's where you continue to grow, continue to develop, and build that bond as you go along. And I think that's what we do best. We bring out the best in each other.
What is the best in you that Yvonne brings out?
She brings out a very strong, compassionate side of me, and a side of me that is very thankful for what I have and very appreciative of everything around me. Yeah.
And Yvonne, what's the best side of you that Leon brings out?
The confident and the uplifting person that I know I can make a difference to the people around me.
Before I invite you to share with us that letter to your younger selves, which will be quite inspiring and also interesting in just a little while, another aspect of your family life is, we got to thank you for national service because you've got 4 children.
Yes.
Was it always a decision early on to have a slightly larger than average Singaporean family? We're looking at each other now to see who will go first.
Well, did we always want to have 4 children? No. We wanted to have 6.
Oh,
So,
half a soccer team.
yeah,
Yes.
4 was the compromise.
Why? Why a larger family?
So I'm an only child, and I grew up always feeling like I wish I had a brother, I wish I had a sibling, a sister, anything. And I grew up very lonely. And I told myself from as far back as I could remember, maybe 10 years old or so, that, next time when I have a family, I'm going to have a big family.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that has always been my dream.
All right. So only child. You wanted to make up in a sense for that experience of not having siblings.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Then I
I
met
was
her.
only child for 14 years until my brother came.
Okay.
So very similarly, but my moment was actually it was the funeral of my paternal grandmother.
Okay.
And then during the procession, right, every family had such a big family except my parents and I.
Okay.
And I'm like, wait a minute, what happened if, in future with my parents? I know it sounds very bizarre to think about that, right? I was about 17 years old.
Okay.
I had my little brother already. But I thought, you know what? I don't want to be so lonely, and I don't want my parents to feel so lonely. Yes, I want to give them a big family. And let me think how many. 6 would be a good number. So that was how I came about.
Okay, so both of you already were on the same page.
Yes.
Before
we
getting
met.
married. Before you met, and when you got married. Hey, that's another thing that kind of clinched the deal.
That's
Yes.
right. Yeah.
In
I mean,
fact-
how many guys you meet at, like, that was a mumbo jumbo era, right?
Okay.
I mean, all the guys were like, oh yeah, we want to chill, we don't have kids, like, and then he's like, yeah, I want to be father of 6. I'm like, wow, that's amazing.
It's easy for a guy to say that. How often you hear a woman say that, right?
Yes, exactly.
So when she shared that her dream is to have a family of 6 kids as well, I knew I had to marry her. That was the moment.
Don't waste time. Don't waste time. Okay, I mean, were you also mentally prepared for the challenge? I mean, lots of joy having children, right?
Yes.
But challenges also, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Still being challenged.
We're still learning, relearning.
How old are your kids, by the way? Youngest to oldest?
14, 16, 18, and 20.
Oh, okay. So all in the teens already.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So when they were before they hit the teenage years, we thought we had it all figured out. We understood how they were. We could tell them to do whatever we want. We were gods. We knew exactly what we were in charge of the family. And then at the age of 14 onwards, everything changed, right? And we had to relearn the whole parenthood journey all over again.
4 times over, I'm sure,
times
because
over. 4 times
everyone is
over.
different, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And, it was a humbling experience, to say the least.
Yeah, I wish we had more time, we invite you back to share with us those nuggets of parenting wisdom as well.
Right.
But at this point in time, I do want to ask you, right? It's been quite an eventful journey together as life partners, business partners, but also as individuals, I'm sure. If you were to reflect on your shared journey as well as your individual journey, if you could write a letter to your younger self with the most valuable advice or words in that letter, what would be in that letter to your younger selves? Who wants to go first?
Let me go first.
All right, Leon, gentleman goes first.
Thank you. If I were to write a letter to myself, the first thing I'll tell myself is don't give up so easily. I remember there were many occasions where I tried something, I had a lot of opportunities, I wanted to try different things, but after a couple of tries, 3 months, 6 months, it didn't work the way I wanted it to work, I gave up. So a friend recently told me not too long ago that we tend to overestimate what we can achieve in 6 months to a year and grossly underestimate what we can in, let's say, 2 or 3 years. So if only I had persevered, if only I had decided to, not give up that easily and continue trying, perhaps different opportunities or different, things would have been different in a way. So the first thing actually that I would tell my younger self. Yeah.
Don't give up too easily.
Yes.
May I ask, is this more in the business sense or more in the personal life sense?
I think it's more in the personal. I think I'm thinking more towards my school days.
Okay.
Maybe sports to a certain extent. Yeah. So I would remind myself of that, definitely.
Okay. So don't, and I like that quote that you said your friend shared with you as well.
Yes.
Remind us what that quote is. We tend to overestimate.
People tend to overestimate what they can do in 6 months to a year, but grossly underestimate what they can do in 2 or 3.
What does that quote mean to you?
That quote means that, if you give yourself enough time, you can achieve anything.
Yeah.
Be patient.
Patience, right?
Yes.
We expecting, 6 months to a year, it seems like a long period of time in today's instant gratification generation, right? Where everything comes to us in 10 to 20 second kinds of capsules, right? We're talking about, TikTok and things like that. But 6 months to a year, in the grand scheme of things, 6 months to a year, that itself is not a very long time.
Yes.
So give yourself more time, allow yourself time for the ROI to come in.
Absolutely.
Is that what?
Be
it's about?
persistent, continue on your path, and definitely things would, be much better in, 1 to 2 years' time. That's how I really feel.
Right. And is this something that you remind yourself today as well?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Yes, but today it's very different because these days I've learned the value of persistence.
Yeah.
I've learned the value of hard work. So it was a very different experience back then. These are things that I wish someone had told me when I was a lot younger.
And thank you for sharing this with us, Leon.
Yes.
Was there a second message to your younger self?
Yes, there was actually.
Yes.
The second message I want to remind myself is gratitude is attitude.
I like that, yeah.
And sometimes it's important for us to be grateful for people around us and for how things, the way things happen, and the way they happen for us instead of to us. And one of the things that I've learned recently is success is not measured in terms of the amount of money you have in the bank, but by the amount of lives and the people that you touch along the way.
You said that you learned this recently.
Yes, I did.
What may I ask, what happened recently that yielded this lesson?
Well, it was in a seminar that I attended, and I had time to reflect.
Okay.
And I had time to think about it. And when you spend a bit of time doing some self-reflection, these things come to light.
Right. Yeah. What changes, when you say gratitude is attitude, when you consciously bear that in mind?
Yes.
How does that shape your perspective?
So, okay, let's talk about negative emotion. You could be upset with your children. You could be angry with your staff in the office. You could be mad at yourself because you didn't do something you should have done. Every time you have a negative emotion, if you replace that emotion with gratitude, suddenly everything looks different, And I think that's the kind of attitude that I like to have, right? No matter what happens, whatever hits the fan, we want to continue to be grateful and continue to know and appreciate the things that are happening. Yeah.
Thank you very much for sharing that very valuable perspective, Leon. What about Yvonne now? What would be in your letter to your younger self?
Well, for me, I would say I would remind myself, Yvonne, staying humble doesn't mean you have to feel small. It's very important to know, to understand the deeper meaning of humility. What does staying humble means? Yeah.
What was your initial definition or understanding of humility, and how has that changed since then?
Right. Probably my family upbringing. My father is is very focused on the Chinese values, right? Like we always have to be very humble, like how the crops, grow. He always uses this analogy like the crop grows. The older they are, the more they bow. So I'm like, okay, I have to be small. I have to be unseen. And then if I shine, I have to not talk about it. I have to be, really have to keep it to myself.
Right.
If not, people think that you're flexing. Then somehow that actually suppress the confidence, suppress and make yourself feel like maybe I'm not good enough. I'm an imposter. And that was my younger self. And every time when I come to a crunch time to go for a competition, a contest, I will always start to slide and say, maybe the other person, had a better start. She graduated overseas. They had a, elite school education. So I keep talking myself down.
Right. Self-limiting beliefs.
Self-limiting. And sorry.
No, please go ahead. Yes.
Yeah, so I realized this recently.
Yeah.
And also it was through all these seminars that improvement causes that Leon and I, we continue to invest in ourselves to go to, right? I realized that the story you tell of yourself is going to be who you become. And then I told myself, is this story serving me? Why am I putting myself down? Why am I intentionally shrinking in among all my friends and people? How can I still stay humble yet make a contribution to them? So that's where now I stand on stage with confidence. When I do things, I know where my values are, and I believe that it is not about putting yourself smaller, it's about uplifting people with you.
Right. That's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that really empowering perspective. What does humility mean for you now?
Yes. Humility to me is to be able to add value to people's life.
Okay.
It's not a possession of wealth, material wealth. To me, it's really, humility is knowing what you don't know. There is always room for improvement. There is always areas that we can make changes. That to me is humility.
Thank you for sharing that. And also to some extent, acknowledging what your strengths are,
Yes.
isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. It's not about flexing,
Yeah.
right? Because I was especially moved when you said about humility is adding value to other people's lives. It's about uplifting other people around you. You need to acknowledge what your strengths are before you can do that, right?
That's right.
Hegen also runs what you call an experiential center.
That's right.
Tell us more about that.
Well, I always feel that motherhood is beyond just having good tools and equipments. The emotional support is very important. So we have to couple the physiology and the psychology part of things. During COVID was a very important reflection period for us. And I felt that, wow, a lot of customers actually reach out to us and say, hey, is there anything that we can learn from you guys? Or all the hospitals are closed for antenatal classes. Where can we find information? Yvonne, you're a breastfeeding mom for 10 years. Could you share some experience with us so that we can, kickstart our motherhood journey with confidence? And all this feedback actually gave me an inspiration of how about creating a space, a common ground for all these moms to come together to learn while they shop and to shop while they learn.
Okay.
So that was the idea. And COVID, actually, a lot of our competitors are downsizing, consolidating. Leon and I, we had this fascinating idea. We're like, hey, how about use this time to do crisis investment?
Yeah, you guys were very contrarian during that
Yes.
time, to the point that I believe our former Prime Minister mentioned Yvonne and Hegen during
Yes.
his National Day rally
That's
in
right.
2021 as well.
That's right, yes.
Tell us what you guys did during the COVID crisis. Leon.
We basically came up with a wish list of what we wanted to do. How may we serve our customers better? How may we continue to make a bigger difference, to customers out there? And we came up with a wish list. And we literally said, we're going to build an experiential center. We're going to develop services. We're going to go in all these different directions because, we had a lot of time, right? It was a global shutdown. We supply shortages, so on and so forth. And so we started investing in all these new ideas. And I think the key here is we invested more in that single year than all 6 years of our existence combined.
Wow. And also staff strength. People were retrenching.
Best time to recruit.
You guys doubled your staff strength during COVID.
Absolutely. That was the best time to recruit.
Right.
Yes.
How did you manage that from a business point of view?
Okay. So firstly, we truly believed in the vision that we have. And we knew that we had the resources to not just survive the pandemic, but to flourish within that time frame.
Okay.
And so we had all these plans. We wanted to bring people. That was the best time to bring in. We wanted to build an experiential center. That was the best time to lease a property. Everything was falling in place for us. We also built a new factory, a 7-acre factory at that point of time.
Where is it based?
It's based
in Singapore, Ayer Raja.
Okay.
And I made this made in Singapore dream come true.
That's amazing.
A lot of naysayers were like, no, impossible. It's too expensive to
Yes.
manufacture in Singapore. I'm like, no, we're going to do it here. And we did it.
Hegen is a made in Singapore brand.
Yes.
Which is not very common to hear when it comes to physical products.
That's
these
right.
days. Premium physical products.
That's right.
What's your best selling product?
Our feeding bottle
Okay.
is, I would say, number one best selling around the world.
Okay.
Yes.
What's so special about this feeding bottle?
We design based on a mom's perspective, how to solve a problem. So number one, I'm a breastfeeding mom. I want a bottle that complements me and not replace me. That's the biggest guilt and fear every working mom will go through or every mother will go through. So when we design it, we make sure that the bottle functions like a lactating breast. And that's where that's where our success came from. We wanted to make sure it's a 100% baby acceptance kind of product. We spent 5 years in the iteration, prototyping. We failed more than 200 times.
Wow.
Never give up.
Yep. Back to Leon's letter to himself.
Yes.
Okay.
And I think that was sometimes being stubborn and, headstrong about like your vision helps when you want to materialize a revolution. So that idea was very different because other than a teat that helps a child to be able to combine mommy's breast and bottle. We also design a bottle without a screw thread. Like, why do we need a screw thread? I've always been asking, why must bottles be round? Couldn't it be square, triangle, other shapes? And then I thought, when I was looking at Leon's logistics company, every carton in square shape fits well and so space efficient.
Yeah.
And I have all this stash of milk in the freezer that was so messy, clunky. It was so difficult to find where's the first in, first out, based on the date I pump out. Why don't we make a bottle that is square and do away with screw thread? Let's revolutionize that.
Wow.
Make it one hand to close. I can carry my baby. I can fix the bottle with one hand. Make life much easier.
Absolutely. That's what we call design thinking as well, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Time for that second letter now. Yvonne and Leon, if you could write a letter to your future selves this time, what
Yes.
would be in this one? Leon?
I would like to ask myself a very simple question, my future self. How may I appreciate even more the beauty that is around me and the love that I already feel from the people that I love? So it's also pre-texting or pre-contexting that, there will be love, and how do I continue to appreciate those even more, that people's love for me even more.
It's wonderful.
Yeah.
And I hear echoes from that second message in your letter to your younger self as well.
Yes.
Gratitude is attitude.
Yes.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Leon. What about Yvonne?
I would say, dear Yvonne, thank you for hugging and kissing dad and mom every day, telling them that you love them, for loving your husband wholeheartedly, and for nurturing your 4 children so unconditionally, and being such a loving and playful person for people around you. So I thank you.
That is beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing, Yvonne and Leon Bock, the co-founders of Hegen Mother and Baby Product Company. As you've heard, they're not just a physical product company, but also experiential. Yeah, and you can find out more about the products and the services from their website, Hegen.com. That's spelled Hegen.com. Made in Singapore. It's been a pleasure speaking to the both of you. Thank you so much for sharing your journey and your letter to yourselves.
Thank you, Joel. It's
Thank
been a
you,
pleasure.
Joel.
You're listening to A Letter to Myself on CNA 938.